In this session and the next, we're going to be talking about abortion. First, we're going to be talking about Judith Jarvis Thomson's very famous article, her defense of abortion. Now, let me tell you a couple reasons why this article and the Marquis one, which we're going to read, are interesting. Here's how most abortion debates go, at least in my experience, and I think pretty broadly. Usually, pro-life arguments all hinge on the claim that the fetus is a person. And so therefore you shouldn't abort it, you shouldn't kill it. And then usually on the pro-choice side, arguments usually hinge on the claim that the fetus is not a person, so it doesn't matter what you do with it, you can abort it. It's part of the mother's body, and so she can do with it what she wants. So usually the debate all hinges on this question of personhood. Now, the question of personhood is really interesting. And here's the question: when does a person begin to exist? Does the person begin to exist at conception? Or are they not really a person yet until they have a heartbeat? Or maybe it's when they can feel pain, or when they have brain waves, or maybe they're not a person until birth, or maybe it's not even until a long time after birth, until they have the ability to reason, or something else. And then when does a person stop existing? When they have flat brain waves, heartbeat stops, loss of reason, loss of memory, something else? Okay, so there's these difficult and interesting questions about the beginning and of personhood. And if we follow the usual path of debating abortion, we've got to solve these problems. Now, Thomson's article is interesting because it's a defense of the pro-choice position, but she assumes, for the sake of argument, that the fetus is a person. So she doesn't try to prove to the pro-life person that the fetus is not a person. Marquis's article, on the flip side, is interesting because it's a defense of the pro-life position, but it does not assume that the fetus is a person. So neither of them have to make arguments about when personhood starts. All right, with that backdrop, let's jump into it. Thomson is or was at MIT, still is as far as I know. Thomson's actual view of personhood is this. She thinks it's really hard to figure out when personhood starts. Probably it's sometime between conception and full-term birth. Before full-term birth, but definitely after conception. But for the sake of argument, she says, let's just forget all that. She says, let's just assume that personhood does begin at conception, like the strongest pro-life advocates want to claim. Her claim is that even if the fetus is a fully fledged person from conception, abortion is still permissible, at least in some cases. Now, the article can feel convoluted at points because a lot's happening. Here's a basic roadmap of what she's doing, where we're going. She's going to present and then refute a series of pro-life arguments. And these pro-life arguments are supposed to show that abortion is impermissible. So she starts with kind of the strongest pro-life position that says, in all cases whatsoever, abortion is wrong, even in cases of rape, even where the life of the mother is at stake. That's what she calls the extreme view. So she tries to refute that, and then she goes to a more moderate pro-life position, an argument for a more moderate pro-life position, which says that abortion is impermissible in every case except for where the life of the mother is at stake. And then she looks at arguments for an even more modest pro-life position, which says abortion is impermissible in all cases except for rape and where the life of the mother is at stake. So that's basically how she's going to proceed. And she's going to give us these interesting thought experiments, which are supposed to show that the key premises in the pro-life arguments are not true. And she starts with this thought experiment that she's going to keep coming back to in different ways. And this is Thomson's very famous violinist. So, one second.